Welcome, everybody, to a Hope Alive Church podcast. This is Pastor Andy. We hope that you enjoy the word today. We hope that it grows, stretches you. We love you. We'll see you soon.
I won't keep you standing too long. I know you can't see me. I'm a little short. So I'm reading out of James. This is the Amplified version. Everybody close your eyes while I read this. Let's think this through. This is James chapter 1, verse 4. It says, "And let endurance have its perfect result, and do a thorough work so that you may be perfect and completely developed in your faith, lacking in nothing." Amen. Lord, I want to thank you for this opportunity that you have presented, Father. Father, I don't take it lightly, Lord God. I ask that you would use me in these next few moments, Lord. Let my words be your words, Lord. Inhabit my thoughts and the way this is delivered. I pray for precision and a direct delivery, Lord God. We love you. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. You may be seated. Sit down. How's 1 o'clock? Y'all good? I'm hungry. I'm just kidding. So I had this thought. There is a thing that we deal with, this phenomenon, I'm going to call it, and it's called procrastination. Raise your hand if you're one of those. You can be honest. This is a non-judgment zone if you procrastinate. This looks different, in different ways. I'll give you an example. When I was thinking about going to school again, I was gonna do online school through CFNI. I stalled big time. I said, I'll do it when we get the office finished. We were working at the house. The office wasn't quite made up yet. When we get the office finished and I have a place to study, I'll go ahead and sign up. Because the way CFNI works, if you're not familiar, you can pretty much jump in whenever you want. It's like month to month. You can get in. You can start whenever. There's no delay. You can start today if you want to. And so I was just stalling. I knew that it was going to be time consuming. I knew that there was going to be homework. I was going to be reading, writing papers. And if I'm honest, I was game. But at the same time, I was like, this might suck. It might. So I waited. The office got finished. And then I said, I really don't have a good computer. I got this old computer, and I want to buy a Mac. I'll wait until I buy the Mac. And, before I start, I'll wait. Because you got to have a good computer before you start, right? And these type of scenarios are common. This is something that we do in life, right? We believe that life starts after, something happens. After this moment happens. It starts later, right? And in the meanwhile, we're just kind of hanging. When the opportunity comes, I'll go ahead and jump in then. When that relationship happens, when the door opens, when that relationship finally, falls apart, I can finally make my move. And so we wait. We just chill out, sit on our butts, and we wait. What if I told you, though, that the season that you're in, even if you feel like maybe you're not doing a whole lot, what if that season you're in isn't random? What if it's not an accident? What if your today matters? The nap you took yesterday matters. Everything that you've done, every bit of work, it all matters. It wasn't random. Let's think about this. Let's think this through. There's a point in everybody's career, whether that be in ministry, oil fields, cutting hair, whatever it may be, there's a point where you're not known. No one knows who you are, right? When I first started playing drums, I started when I was about maybe 11-ish, something like that, 12. And I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I was garbage, like just straight garbage. And so for 6 years, I annoyed everyone in the house by playing the same beat over and over and over again. It wasn't a full 6 years, but you get my point. It was 6 years of solid practice before I went to go play with anyone else, before I went to go have a jam session or invite somebody over to the house to come and jam with me. It was 6 years of just by myself. No one even knew I really played, right? Your situation may look similar. If you were, I am early in my working career, I framed houses. And if you know anything about that process, early, I was a helper. It was, hold this right there. You just holding it while they nail it. Go get that. So you're the guy that's carrying the lumber. You're bringing, the nails, move the gun, get the cord. No one knows who you are, right? They know the boss man, whoever it is that you're working for. There was years of this. But if it wasn't for those years, I never would have learned it. I never would have got good at it. None of that. All of that, all the times that I got yelled at for grabbing the wrong thing. Everything, every hot day, every windy, nasty weather day out in the, in this climate that we live in of blowing dirt and dry heat. All of those led to where I am now, right? It led to framing houses, foreman, superintendent, business owner, right? So there's lots of that. You guys may have a similar story. You can look back on these quiet years in your life when it's just head down working. Pastor Cliff talked a little bit about this last weekend. We're youth pastor, and everything, all the years he's been in ministry versus the years he's been a lead pastor, right? And so this is a common thing. And the word that we're looking for here, the word that we're looking at is obscurity. Obscurity. Everybody know? Raise your hand if you know what this word means. I'm going to be honest, I had to look it up. There's 2 definitions, okay? There's 2 definitions. Let me find them. Number 1, are you ready? Obscurity is the state of being unknown or forgotten, out of sight, out of recognition, not on anyone's radar, someone who exists but nobody notices. Yeah? Sound familiar? There's a second one, obscurity, a veiled or uncertain meaning, something hidden by darkness, not clearly seen or easily distinguished, something shrouded, something present but not yet visible. Have you ever felt like you're there? You've showed up. You've put the work in. You've done all the things, right? You've taken the blame, whether it was you or not. You've put all of it, all of your effort, and nothing has changed. There's obscurity is it's a beautiful place to be, but it also can be it can be ugly. It can make you or break you. There's hard parts. Okay, we're going to put them up. It feels like nothing is happening. Okay, you're showing up every day, like I said. You're doing the work. You're staying faithful, and from the outside, nothing looks different. No progress, no movement, no visible sign that anything is going anywhere. It's quiet in these times. I don't mean right now, but it's quiet. It feels like nothing is happening. The enemy will use, believe me when I tell you, the enemy will use this silence to tell you that you heard that calling wrong. God didn't talk to you. You're not supposed to be over there. That was just a dream. The dream that was just a dream. The person that spoke over you, what did they know? He starts to bring doubt. That comparison, when you start looking at what other people are doing, right? That doubt brings in, well, they're doing this, and I'm doing this. He's leading over here. He got to speak over there. And if I can be just fully transparent, y'all, I dealt with this. This was a big-time thing for me early on when I got, if you don't know, Pastor Brandon, he's sitting in the back. Pastor Brandon and I got ordained about right here on the same day, okay? And there was times where Pastor Brandon, he's a gifted and brilliant communicator. He'd get up and he'd preach, and I'd be like, why can't I do that? Can I be honest? Has anybody else ever been here? Pastor Cliff gets up and just smashes this word. He hits this topic from every angle. And why can't I think that way? And this comparison has you kind of fall back. Instead of stepping further into your calling, you start to backtrack. Like I said before, this is when it gets quiet. Because what does comparison bring? Isolation. Instead of saying things like, hey, how'd you do that? Can you help me? Can you help me with my notes? Can you help me with my delivery? Can you critique what I did? If I record it and send it to you, can you listen to it, maybe take some notes? Instead of doing those things, it's, well, let me just back up. I hope they don't ask me. I hope they don't ask me. I don't want to get up and preach because the whole time I'm doing it, I'm wondering if what they're thinking. I'm worried about what they're doing, right? That comparison is a killer. It is a dream killer. Don't let the absence of visible fruit become evidence against what God said. Okay? I'm going to say that again because I don't think you got it. Don't let the absence of visible fruit become evidence against what God said. If God said you're going, believe me when I tell you, you're going. You can take that to the bank. It's going to happen. Where we get off is every direction, every vision comes with obscurity. It always does. And it's not just us. We can look through the Bible and we can see this over and over again. How many times do you think Elijah handed Elijah something and was just like, hold that? And he went to work praying and doing the things he was doing. And Elijah's just standing back here like, you ready for it now? No. Now? All right. Joshua followed Moses around, learning, soaking, right? But how many times do you feel like he just kind of followed him around like, do you need that? You need that now? Let me get it. You need some water? Just being a helper. This is a pacer in the running world. This is somebody who's going to just really just kind of help be your brain. Every aspect of our lives has this. It's scattered throughout the Bible. This isn't new. It's not new. The beautiful parts about this, though, there's some really good stuff here. The beauty of this, I think one of the main, for me anyway, is that in obscurity, you can mess up and no one's going to know. No one knows you. How many times do you think Pastor Cliff bombed in front of a youth group? Pastor Brandon bombed before, he really found his lane. There was times when you have to, it gives you the freedom to be able to do this without any repercussion, right? You can redirect, you can drop it, you can fall, you can get back up and try again. You can say, that was dumb, not doing that again. There's a whole lot of beauty to this, right? A whole lot of beauty about not being known. No one, when we look at people, David, for instance, David was a master with this sling and stone. How many of you know that David didn't begin practicing this when he stepped out to fight Goliath? This was years in the making. Years, right? How many nights, days, hot days do you think David went out slinging this thing, missing, going home sore, mad? I'm never going to get it. I'm never going to get it. The Goliath was knocked out by consistency, not a stone. There is a stone involved, right? But without the consistency, the obscurity, and everything that took place beforehand, he'd still be standing. It was the practice. It was the quiet years. It was the misses. It was the frustration. It was everything. And you had to be a shepherd in that time, you had to be decent with something. Bears and lions that was a real thing in that region. He didn't put that's not in the Bible for, theatrics. That happened. You had to be able to fight these things off. And the Philistines, there was a lot of the metal trade, and they owned this, right? Like, you couldn't have a sword. It's not like David was walking around with a couple of daggers and a couple of swords at all times. He had a sling. This was necessity, not a hobby. And so being able to fight with this thing was key. Now, it wasn't just a little bit of nerdy history. These were called, they had different names. My favorite is slingers. They would use them. It was like a modern-day sniper. They were in the army. They had guys that this was their whole role, was to work this sling. And if you've watched, you can look it up, y'all. These things will fly. If you can, they can hit small, tiny targets from very far away and very hard. So to think one of those things went flying into Goliath's face, yeah, it's no wonder he was out. It said it sunk in, right? It's kind of a cool, thing to look at. But these guys, they still had years and years of obscurity, of practice, of lining these things up. 1 Samuel 17 says, "But David said to Saul, 'Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off the sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and I rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God.'" This is a resume that this man is telling everyone. I'm not afraid, right? We know that he's had plenty of time to practice this thing. He's had plenty of time, to get good with it, right? And so not only is he coming in with God backing him up, but he's coming in with confidence with this skill that he's got. And he's telling everyone here, we're good, y'all. I'll go take care of it. He didn't say he felt called to do this. He didn't say, I believe God will come through. He said, I've already done a version of this in private, right? Where nobody could see, and God was faithful every single time. Had David lost one of those fights, he wouldn't have been there to have that conversation, right? Lions don't really walk away from free meat. There was a time here, so in between the David getting anointed, so Samuel, let me back up. Samuel goes to Jesse's house. Jesse is David's dad, right? And he asked for all of his boys to line up. So they go get him. One by one, Samuel goes through, and he stands in front of him, and he's like, "No, you're not it. No. And then finally asks, is this it? Where's the rest?" And so he goes and gets him. He comes back and, brings David, says, "You're the man," anoints his head with oil, and then sends him, oily-headed and all, back in the field. I say that because there's a whole different line, there's a whole different way of thinking about obscurity when you know you're the man. When you know it's you, and it just hasn't came yet, that can be mentally taxing. Scholars believe that in between the time that this happened and the crowning moment. Okay, Goliath is kind of in the middle here. But in between the time that he was anointed with oil to the crown was about 25 years. From Goliath to the crown was about 15, roughly, okay? They also believe that at this time, he was in between the ages of 13 to 15 years old, okay? That's a long time, y'all. 25 years, 15 years, that's 1 year. 1 year of waiting is, that's hard. How many of y'all have ever waited? I think it was Usain Bolt who said he trains all year to run 10 seconds. If you don't know who that is, he's incredibly fast. He's a sprinter. And 10 seconds. Most people won't train a week, you know what I mean, to run a 5K. Won't stick with it. What I'm getting at is when the time frame, this 25, this 15 years, when that time frame stretches out, we tend to forget the wording that we got. We forget the calling that we got. And instead of doing our part and making sure that we honor this word that we were given, this calling that we were given, as time starts to progress, as it starts to pass, and people kind of start getting used to at some point he's going to take over, we start getting impatient. And that impatience starts having us, maybe I can do a little bit of this on my own. Maybe I can if I take care of this part, it'll probably speed the process up. And so we end up taking control back from what we had already surrendered, right? Don't worry about it, God. I got it. As if God needs our help, right? Don't worry about it. You know what? You're busy. You're busy. Let me jump in and I'll do this part, you know what I mean? You can come back around and wrap it up, you know? So we do this, right? And it's funny when you say it out loud because this is stuff that we actually do. We can laugh about it right now, but yeah. There was a lot that happened in these years, right? We talked, Goliath is somewhere in the middle. He served Saul. He was faithful there. Like I said, he fought Goliath. He ran for his life. He hid in caves. He had many men that followed him. He had 2 opportunities to kill Saul and speed this process up and refused both times. He could have ended this, but he chose not to. When he finally became king, every bit of obscurity that he had, is gone. Everybody's watching what you do now. You're under a microscope. Everything you do that's wrong, they'd hop on social media and be like, David did. Y'all should have seen him. David threw a fit yesterday and all these people died. So much stuff, right? We do this as individuals. As I talked about, there's lots of examples. As a nation, the Israelites were no different, okay? There was a time where the Israelites were all slaves, right? They were stuck in Egypt. They were building, these things for the Pharaoh. They worked endless hours. They ate like crap. They were treated like crap. It was a bad situation. Moses comes in, has the conversations. The plagues happen. Okay, they finally get let out. They make it to safety. The water's open. They make it across, right? As soon as they make it to freedom, the water's closed in. The army's dead. Instant freedom. Instant freedom. Physical freedom and mental freedom are 2 different things. These people moved on. You got to keep in mind, the Bible says that the waters parted and they crossed on dry ground, meaning God created a giant water hallway and they walked through, okay? This is a pretty big miracle to witness, to literally walk through. And even with that knowledge, and everything else that took place after the fact, the manna from heaven, the water from the, everything that happened, time went on, right? The excitement wore off, and they started whining. Here come the complaints. Here comes let me take the control back. Here comes at least when we were slaves, we knew when we were going to eat. We knew where we were going. We knew what was going to happen. And you lost it. Raise your hand if you've ever been here. They wandered and wandered. I have to think that at some point God was like, all right, fine. Go ahead. Just wander until you die. That's pretty much what happened, right? They wandered the desert for 40 years. This generation of people who had this, they were stuck in this slave mentality, couldn't get out of it. They died. And a new generation of people were raised up in this time. And these were people that didn't know anything about slavery. The only thing that they knew was their dependence on God. They knew that when they were hungry, it was provided. When they were thirsty, it was provided. They knew that the leadership that they needed was provided. The direction and the vision was provided. This is what they knew. They knew that their dependence was solely on God. The obscurity season, these quiet years, was the wilderness, right? The rebuild, the formation, what we assumed is abandonment, what may have looked like abandonment. Imagine being a teenager, watching your parents get old, pass on, and you're still wandering. It hasn't came yet. We have to. Never mind. The obscurity in this was difficult. I'm just going to say it like that. How about that? The obscurity in this moment was hard for these young folks as they grew up. I'd imagine. I didn't talk to none of them, right? But I got to imagine that it was hard watching their family members die off and then still believe that God is faithful, right? Yet, they did it. That's what happened. They made their way from there into Jericho, and this was a new people. Make sense? They make their way up to these walls, and they send, 2 spies. And this part always kind of gets me because I gotta think the fear of the Lord had to have been for real. 2 spies go in, they come back. Well, Joshua gets word, this thing is huge. If you're not familiar, the one of the ways that you could tell if a city had money or not was the size of their walls. That means that they had infrastructure, they had an army. That means that you could show up with an army outside of their walls, and they probably got enough food in there to wait you out. They'll lock it up, and they're not worried about it. So they meet this lady named Rahab, and she says, we heard about the things that God is doing through the Israelites. We heard about this. And the people are in fear. Like this whole city is in fear. By this point, the city had been boarded up. They shut all the doors. They didn't let nobody in, nobody out, because the Israelites were coming. The Israelites are coming. What a turnaround. Okay, these are the same people that were slaves way back when. Now, they didn't freak out because these Israelites had came and everybody's, huge. They didn't have a workout regimen they weren't doing, push-ups and burpees, and they came with all of this armor. They weren't freaked out because of the things what they look like, the numbers. They were freaked out because who they came with. It said that. We heard about the things that God is doing, and so they're in panic. Everything gets shut up. That was Joshua chapter 6, by the way. So these walls got to come down because they got to go in, right? So Joshua goes to the Lord, and the Lord gives him instruction. And he says to march in silence. He says, this is Joshua chapter 6, verse 2. It says, now the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given Jericho into your hands, with its king and its mighty warriors. You shall march around the city, all of the men of war circling the city once. All of the men of war circling the city once. You shall do this for 6 days. Also, 7 priests shall carry 7 trumpets made of ram's horns before the ark. Then on the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets when they make the long blast with the ram's horn, and you hear the sound of the trumpets. All of the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people will go up, each man straight ahead. He said to march in silence. This means no war cries, no voices, not a word until it was time, right? Why does this matter? Raise your hand if you've ever been somewhere and you're with a team, let's say, basketball, football, whatever. And your coach is like, hey, we're going to go run, and we're going to come back, and we're going to do this drill and this one and that one. And you're standing next to your buddy, and your buddy's like, this is dumb. We did this yesterday. This coach don't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. There was no opportunity. God killed the opportunity for complaint. He killed the opportunity for negative crap to, get spread. As you can imagine, this is a big city. So it wasn't it's not like, walking around the sanctuary, right? So day 1 comes around, and they're pumped. The Lord's with us, right? This is going to be a good time. They walk around, and everybody's thinking, you got to put your head, in their position. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. It's going to work. Day 2 happens. It's a little hot out here. It's a little hot. Day 3, bro, I'm tired. We walked around here yesterday, and we were sweating. It's a long walk. I'm tired. Day 4, this is stupid. Day 5, this isn't going to work. There's no way. Nothing has happened. Surely something would have started to rattle. Something would have happened. We'd have seen some sign of something. This is going to work. Day 6, this better work. We walked all the way around here for nothing. This better work. And then day 7, trumpets, everything fall, right? And there you are again. Here's that excitement word. We're reminded that God was with us the whole time. After the complaining, we just repeated the cycle. Make sense? So without this ability to speak, all of this was eliminated. Sure, you're probably thinking it, but you didn't get the chance to spread that negativity to your neighbor. Make sense? God knew that would happen. So the people shouted, this is Joshua chapter 6, verse 20. So the people shouted a war cry. The priests blew the trumpets. They heard the sound of the trumpet. The people shouted with a great shout, and the walls fell flat. So the people went up into the city, each man straight ahead. They'd captured the city. They won, right? There was some disobedience there. There were some things that happened, some things that got taken, because God was clear and said, don't take nothing from here. We're going to wipe the city out. We're going to take the city, but none of this belongs to you. Well, somebody didn't listen, naturally, right? Humanity kicked up, and someone didn't listen. There is two sides of this. You've taken the city, you've won, everybody's happy, you're cheering, you go back to the camp, you eat, everybody's having some wine, great, you're having this feast, everything that you found, you know what I mean, you're talking stories and whatnot, it's a great day. You won, right? We've seen this. We've seen this in life. We won that game, we won 19 games in a row playing, whatever sport you play or watching your kid. Everything's great. How many of you know after something like this, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's not always like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Sometimes it's 7 losses before you catch a break. Sometimes you feel like you're just constantly under fire. They took this confidence that they had from this win and went on to a city named Ai. In the Bible, it's spelled A-I. It's pronounced Ai. And Joshua was pretty arrogant at this point. I mean, he was full of confidence, right? It was a smaller city compared to Jericho anyway. By comparison, it at least looked that way. The report came back, said, don't send everybody, okay? Just, 2,000-3,000. 2,000-3,000 men ought to get it. Here comes your planning. I got this, Lord. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of this one. Well, they go, and they get their butt kicked. There was no prayer recorded anyway. If Joshua went to the Lord, we don't know about that, right? From what this reads, how this reads, this man made a plan and sent them. No prayer, no asking, just planned it, went, they got their butt kicked. Joshua chapter 7 says, but the Israelites acted unfaithfully in regard to the things designated for destruction to the Lord. For Achan, this is the guy that couldn't keep his hands to himself, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi. Some of these words are hard, y'all. The son of Zerah from the tribe of Judah, took some of the things designed for destruction, and the anger of the Lord burned against the Israelites. They were doomed before they ever went up. And so Joshua tore his clothes, fell on his face before the ark of the Lord until that evening. And the elders of the Israelites, and they put dust on their heads. I want to understand. I had to look this up because I've read it a few times and I didn't know exactly what the significance of this was. But your clothes meant something to you. It gave you stature at this time. If you had nice clothes, nice robes, then everybody knew that, you were doing well. It's like modern day, fancy watches and jewelry and cars and, all of that stuff, right? And so by him tearing his clothes, falling to his face, he's stripping himself back down to nothing. Basically saying, Lord, I thought I had it and I ain't got it. I don't have it. Let me strip myself back to nothing for you. Let me shift my dependence back from my own thinking back to you where it should be. Formation doesn't stop the breakthrough, right? It doesn't stop the disasters either. They were formed in the wilderness. They made their way into Jericho. They had a win, right? But their humanity still kicked up, and then they had a pretty major loss. And so it works one way or another. Formation doesn't stop. You guys are being formed right now, in the moment, by the words that you've heard today, by the worship that you took a part in, right? Every bit and every way that the Lord has poured into each one of us is formation. It's not for anything. I said that in the beginning. It's not for nothing. Success is one of the most spiritually dangerous seasons a person can enter. This is overconfidence. I ran I ran a 100-miler in December of 2023. I carried that win into July 24. And I was going to Colorado to go run a 50-miler at Pikes Peak. And I thought to myself, I just did 100. I can do this. Y'all, I got my butt handed to me. I DNF'd. I didn't make it. That overconfidence led to a lack of training. I wasn't mentally in the game. I sure didn't go to the Lord and say, hey, help me with this one. No, I had it. And I got my butt kicked. The success part of it it's not bad. It's not bad to win. The problem that we have is that when we win, we think we did it. And that's not it. Our dependence has to stay locked in. Everybody say locked in. Our foundation shifts. We take back control. We don't want to surrender it. God isn't asking for you to stop everything that you're doing, to stop dreaming, to stop trying. He's not asking for any of those things. He's asking for you to do it with him. He's asking for you to say, Lord, how would you like me to proceed? Instead of you going for it. It was a control issue. a surrender problem. God isn't delaying you, he's developing you. And you don't walk into a promise if you haven't let the wilderness shape you. There's many, if we go back and we think about the lions and the bears, there was many tests. There's many demons, if you would, that David had to kill in private before he could take down this big giant in public. There's so much work that has to happen. If you get nothing else out of today, we have to recognize that today matters. How many times in your life do you think you've said, tomorrow's not promised? That's a truth that we know. We know life is short. The events of this week will prove that. It's too short. That means the waiting until next week when that check comes in, when that thing happens, like we talked about, we got to start today. This is a today issue. And it's all possible if we're willing to surrender and give up that control. Make sense? Stand on your feet. This obscurity is dangerous. It can really derail where you are if your dependence shifts. Let's say it shifts and you win. You say, I left the ministry altogether. I left everything that God has built in my family's life. And I went to go work at Pastor Cliff's Oil Company. And I just started rolling in it, man. I was just bringing in all the bills. I had them all. I'm going on vacation without checking my bank account. I'm just buying cars cash and just able to do all of these things. It's dangerous because now I'm believing, man, I did all that. I did that. We have to remember that our timing, we say this all the time as well, our timing is not God's timing. It sounds good when we say it. We've probably told somebody this before, but we're not really that great at living this part out. That impatience has us take that control back. The long timing, right? There's different types of business owners in the room. There's maybe you're not a business owner, but you've been at your job. There's years of practice, years of getting chewed out, years of getting it wrong before you got good at what you do now. Right? What if you would have gave up? What if it would have been like, I'm just going to walk away. You're not even trying to take the control back. You're just, in that situation anyway, you're just going to remove yourself and go about whatever it is you think you should be doing instead of the calling that the Lord has over your life. There is something I want to go back to in the beginning. There was a verse I read out of Samuel. 1 Samuel 16, verse 11. It says, so Samuel asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? Jesse answered, there's still the youngest, but he's tending to the sheep. Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives. This sit down word is, back in the day, this was the start. Sitting down, just the same way we would read the word, we pray, and then I say, you can be seated. That means we're starting now, right? This was no different then. When people came, whether it was a formal dinner, they would say, you can be seated, everybody sit, everybody sit. It means we're starting now. There's a lot of us in the room that feel like there's rooms that we belong in, but they've already started without us. if we don't hurry up and get this part down, if we don't go to school and get smarter, if we don't put this work in, if we don't stay patient, stay the course, stay under someone else's leadership, if we don't learn, if we don't do these things, it takes too long. You know, in America, you know how many churches are in America? A lot. From this building right here, we can throw a rock and hit about 3. And the problem with it is, people aren't, be careful here, not everyone is called to start a church. Not everyone is called to start a church. People want to start a church because they want to be in charge. It's easier to question leadership than it is to submit to it. It's easier to say, you know what, I'm going to leave that leadership so that we can do it my way. And so then Brown Door Church pops up. And with social media, it's easier than ever. And it's dangerous. But we see this with businesses, right? How many dumpster companies are in Odessa? Concrete, granite, bricklayers. There's so many because no one wants to stay under the leadership, the covering of someone else. It takes too long. People, they thought that it couldn't be David. David was an afterthought to his own dad. Right? They brought him in late. The room that God is preparing for you. The same way that they waited for David to come, we're not sitting, we're not doing anything, we're not starting nothing until David gets here. That same God that did that is the same God that is waiting for you. No one's starting without you. No one's sitting until you get there. And trust me, no one's in a hurry. Stay the course. Soak it in. Stay under that umbrella. We can't keep reaching back to grab this wheel, to take back the control, the panic that sets in. This game that we keep playing. I trust you, Lord. It's all yours. Or we walk away altogether. Some of us have walked away completely from the calling that you have over your life. When you hear the word calling, people think ministry. You know, I got to be a pastor, teacher. No. Some of us are just simply called to be moms and dads. Good ones, right? Whatever it is, there's a lot of us in the room that have stepped back. I can make more money doing this over here. I can be in control over here. No. God's asking you to come back to the table. We're waiting for you to get here so that we can sit. There is a I think it's pronounced Quavak. Isaiah chapter 40 says, "But those who wait for the Lord, who expect, look for, and hope in him will gain new strength and renew their power. They will lift up their wings and rise up close to God like eagles. Rising towards the sun, they will run and not become weary. They will walk and not grow tired." That Hebrew translated word is quava. And it means to wait. It means to twist and bind together like fibers of a rope. Okay, this is asking you to wait with intent. Does this make sense? You ever waited on somebody and you're like, how long is it going to be? It's going to be about an hour. All right, cool. I'm going to take a nap. I got time to take a nap. This isn't that. It's not what it's saying. When I read this, it's talking about somebody who's waiting with a 10. I picture a track runner. This is somebody who is standing, and he didn't start the race, right? No, he's waiting for his turn. And he's pointed in the direction that he's got to go, and he's looking back. He's looking back, and he's looking for the runner that's turning the corner. He's got the baton. My turn is coming. I'm waiting. I'm timing it right. I'm timing. He's getting closer. I got to make sure I'm prepared. The legs are warm. My head's in the game. I know where I'm going. I got to wait. Here's the deal, though. You never see a track runner wait until they get there with the baton. Thank you. And then take off running. That's not a thing. No, what ends up happening is as he gets closer with that baton, at some point, you got to lock eyes forward and take off running. And we got to run with your hand held back, knowing and believing that baton's going to slap my hand. And when it does, it's go time. It's my turn. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been working towards. It's my turn to run. And if my dependence is on me, I can do it, I can win it, I'm going to fall. But if it's placed in the right space, we'll succeed every time. Our prayer team's coming. There's some in the room that, as I said before, have thrown your hands up and backed away. My calling's not for me. I misheard. It's been too long. They would have called by now. You backed off, gave up. It's time to come back. It's time to come home. The people, the room that God intended for you, the table that was made for you is ready. It's ready. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to close with this question. What are you doing today? What are you doing today that's going to make a difference for your tomorrow?
Well, we hope that you enjoyed today's message. Follow us on our social media platforms. You can also go to our website, download our app. We always have great things happening. You can follow what's going on. We love you. We'll see you later.